Why, hello. I am Tiara Reed, the owner of Inspire, Engage, and Educate. And yes, today I have my big pink hat on because it is our final episode of the year of On Wednesday We Wear Pink. And why not be dolled up? So I have some amazing people here today and someone else that's going to jump in later. However, all of our shows, this is the last and final one has been about you focusing on you and making sure that you are being very vigilant, doing self examinations. And our whole goal is for you to have just a understanding of the power of early detection, and also to understand that not only is it that you, if you ever find a lump that this may have happened to, but it happens to a lot of women. About 80% of the women that find a lump, it is benign. It's not even cancerous. So we've been focusing on not suffering in silence as well as early detection. So without further ado, I want to talk about the panel today. Kenecia will be joining us a little later, but right now, you've seen this person. He's pretty much a friend of the show, a co-host at this point. He's been on here numerous of times. And not only do we have a combined interest of education and all things excellence, and we're both Tauruses, but he also has been through breast cancer. No, not for himself, but with his mom. He was a caregiver and he still is. So at the end of the day, I thought that why not? If we're going to be talking about all of our survivors, let's talk about the people who give them the strength that they need, right? So Curtis, without further ado, he's going to talk about his perspective and what went on with helping his mom. And we also have Mama Wanda. And Mama Wanda's going to go next, and she's going to share with us about her story. Now, listen, if you're watching, hey, out there, we want to make sure that you know to not only, just like or we want you to comment. We want you to ask questions as well. So throughout the night, we're going to be responding to you. If you make a comment, you will see your face. And if you have a question, we will make sure that we answer it to the best of our ability. So, Curtis, please share your story.
Okay, good afternoon. I want to thank you guys for the invite. I truly enjoy being on here, being a guest. Mama Wallace, I want to thank you as well for being part of this panel. Again, my name is Curtis Moore. My mom is a breast cancer survivor. She was right after my wedding, I believe. My mom she said that she ended up going home, and she just thought that she had a little knot from the undergarment that she was wearing because it was a low cut dress. So she said she just kind of monitored it and, didn't pay no attention. Then here a couple of weeks passed by, she touched it again and still feel it. And it's like it's not going down. Like it was just, seemed like it was getting bigger. So, of course, quite naturally, she didn't tell nobody. It was kind of one of those things like, I kind of got an idea what it is, but at the same time, I'm going to back away from it. I'm not going to, it'll go away. I'm just going to pray about it, put everybody in my, get myself on everybody's prayer list. So, finally, we was living in Montgomery at the time, and my mom was like, my nickname is Tubby. So she's like, Tubby, I want you to go to the doctor with me. I made an appointment to go see a doctor. I said, for what? She's like, well, I got a little knot right here. So me, I started panicking, but I couldn't show her that I was panicking. So what I did, I said, all right, let's go, babe. So we ended up going to the doctor, and the first thing the doctor said, well, I need to get a biopsy. We need to get a better check on what's going on so we can know how to attack this, whatever this is. We're going to pray for the best, but we're going to prepare for the worst. So I was like, okay, then. So, of course, when they said biopsy, my mom, she panicking and everything. So they went back and did the little incision, pulled the whatever they had to get out. And they told us to come back in 2 weeks. So, of course, that was the worst 2 weeks of life. Not knowing I was a school teacher at the time at E.D. Nixon Elementary School. So I just went, didn't tell nobody. I was just pretty much just keeping it to myself. She was keeping it to herself. And we ended up going back to the doctor. Her doctor was named Dr. Strickland. Dr. Cope is either Strickland. It was Strickland. And we was at Baptist South. And the lady put us in a room and she said, hey, I want to go over your results. So, I'm sweating. So my mom looked at me And I tell you, she was nervous. So the lady said, well, I just want to let you know, I'm just gonna be honest with you, it was cancerous, stage 4, and we need to figure out how we're gonna go about attacking this. So my mom looked at me, so I looked at my mom, we just speechless. So the doctor was like, you guys have anything to say? She was like, well, we numb right now, we just trying to process everything. And you think about it, as being the oldest child, I got to be strong for her because I don't want her to see that I'm bothered by this. So I said, okay, Mom, what you feeling? She was like, well, right now I'm just numb. It's going to take me a little time to process this. So the first thing the doctor said, well, we can do a lumpectomy. I think I'm pronouncing it right. Or we can go about doing a mastectomy. So my mom was like, they start asking questions. Have you have a history of cancer in your family? We're like, no. High blood pressure, but no cancer. So, and I started asking questions because I'm ignorant to a lot of things when it comes to those things at that time. And she said, well, no, it hits a lot of women. Look at the statistics. It don't. You don't have to have that trait. You don't have to have that running your family. It just hit people, and some people it don't. So my mom and I talked. I said, Mom, just go and get just get them cut off, man. And she like, but how you gonna tell me? We joking about it. How you gonna tell me to cut my stuff off? You cut your chest off. I said, no, but I said, but Ma, we got to figure out how we're going to get past this because at the end of the day, you can always buy more. And, that's how I joke with her about that. I said, Ma, they have doctors out here. And I said, you can get some better. We just laughed about it, trying to make light of a situation that was so sensitive. And so make a long story short, she ended up going back and went back to the doctor. And at the moment, I had to go to her rent office. And God has a sense of humor how he do things. I went to the rent office and we didn't know how we was gonna get out. And I know I had just moved out the complex, and I was trying to get out my lease because I had just bought a house, and they were like, you can't do that. You got to find somebody to buy a rent your apartment. So to make a long story short, this particular time I told the rent manager what was going on. I said, hey, my mom just found out she just got diagnosed with breast cancer, and she just started crying. And she said, Mr. Moore, I have breast cancer too. And I'm fighting for my life. And, we just started talking. I'm looking like, man, you know what I mean? And she's like, you know what we're going to do is your mom, all she got to do is pay her rent this month and pay half a month next month. And we'll get you through it. So I ended up, I went to my prayer closet, of course, I cried out to God because I needed some understanding of what was going on. Then I went to my job. I was a teacher. I went to my principal, who was very faith-driven, stayed in the word, who was a minister as well. And we just talked. I said, Dr. Thompson, I never felt like this. I never been in a situation where I'm helpless to my mom. And she prayed him. She said, we're going to pray about it, but you can't pray about something and still worry. I said, but I'm a Taurus. I'm human. I'm going to worry. And, we ended up getting through that. My mom moved back to Mobile. I lost a great friend behind it. One of my roommates, who was my friend, who I trusted more, like a brother. I said, hey, bro, I'm going to need your help moving my mama. I don't have no help. Everybody backed out on me. I said, I need your help. He said, I got you. I got you. I got you. Don't worry about it. The day they come to move my mama, he never showed up. But I couldn't let my mama down. So I had to get that furniture out that apartment and get my mom to Mobile so she can get the best care possible. So make a long story short, I ended up moving my mom down there. Got to move to Mobile to my grandmama and grandhouse, who was retired. They were able to take her back to her services. Her treatments. She ended up getting a lumpectomy. And it's been, since 2007, 2008. And to this day, my mom is still breast cancer free. I just thank God. I tell anybody, I think it took 5 years off my life because I stayed worrying so much because I didn't want my family, my children, my wife, and everybody to see that I was struggling with this, trying to keep my mom strong. So I tell anybody, man, it's definitely a lot of work because the people that are actually going through it, you got to keep them lifted. You don't want them to give up. You got to get them an encouraging word. But we need those encouraging words too. So if you know somebody who's caregiving for somebody, man, make sure you reach out to them. Just call them sometimes. Just tell them, hey, man, I don't want nothing. I'm just going to buy you lunch. I'm thinking about you, man. Just help them out because, man, it's a team thing. It's not no one person going through it. And, I was sharing with Tierra, and I know I'm off script right now when I say this. Even myself, I had a little scare a couple of weeks ago. I had a knot on the back of my leg that was bothering me. Every time let's say if I get chill bumps or I get excited about something, it swells up and it hurt my whole leg. So I ended up going to a dermatologist, and the lady, when she started lancing my leg, she said, "Oh my God, you got so much going on in this leg, this bump right here, that I'm gonna get a biopsy done." So when she said biopsy, I'm laying on my stomach. I started, a tear came on my eyes. I'm like, Lord, I'm here by myself. The lady told me she got a biopsy, not knowing what to do. And so when she probably turned around, she said, "Oh, it keeps bleeding. I don't know what's going on." So make a long story short, when I got a tape, she said, "Well, Mr. Moore, we're going to sew you up. 2 weeks, come back. I'm going to have your biopsy report." They called me that Wednesday. "Hey, Mr. Moore, have the doctor called you?" I'm like, "For what?" Nobody called me. They told me I had an appointment tomorrow. She said, "Oh, my God. They didn't call and tell you nothing, Mr. Moore?" I'm like, "No." I said, "But you can tell me what's going on." She said, "Well, we got your biopsy report." And like she kept stalling me out, like she wouldn't want to go in the store. I'm like, okay, so I'm now thinking the worst. So I said, "Lord, what is going on?" And she said, "Well, I just want to let you know that the knot that we cut out your leg was it was benign." I said, "Oh, we ain't got to talk no more then. Now we good. We ain't got to talk no more." I said, "Okay, then perfect." I said, "Well, I'll see you next. I said, I'll see you in the next 24 hours. I'll see you when I get to the doctor tomorrow." But at that moment, nobody knew what I was dealing with for those 2 weeks. Tiara, one of the closest females to me, nobody knew. My mom, nobody knew what I was dealing with, because I was preparing for the best. I was hoping for the best, but I was preparing for the worst. What these folks tell me. So my thing is, anytime people going through things, and I'm a strong person when it comes to breast cancer, anything, you support that people, man, because every day you never know. Somebody just put it on here, what somebody's going through. You never know. They might have a smile. I wear a smile on my face all the time. You'll never think nothing wrong with me. But inside, I have so much going on, and just a simple, "Hey, man, how you doing, man?" That get me through my whole day. And that's my story. I didn't do it by myself. I have brothers and sisters that helped out as well, but I'm just telling you from my perspective on what I did for my mom, and financially trying to get her to these appointments and stuff like that. So it definitely takes a lot, man. Anybody who's going through that now, keep you guys lifting our prayers. One of my former assistant principals, when I was the principal in Georgia, and always told me, "Mr. Moore, when you Christ-led, you never misled." So you keep that in your mind, and keep that. I'm telling you, pray about it and forget it. And that's my story. I want to thank you again, Tiara, for inviting me on here. I hope what I said can help somebody else, and I look forward to hearing what you guys have to talk about as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Curtis. Oh my goodness. Every time I hear you talk about your experiences and just the light that you are, not only to my life, but you're a beacon of hope to everyone that knows you. And you have to know that. And so when you have that "I'm not great by mistake" sweatshirt on, hoodie on, okay, just know that it's the truth. You are not great by mistake. And so as you begin to talk, I thought about all the people who have been caregivers, and with Kenecia joining us. When I met Kenecia, actually, Kenecia and I met through her sister Shanetta, who's watching, and I watched Kenecia be a caregiver, and she and her siblings, to her mom. And so just thinking about, while you're caring for someone else, not knowing that you may need someone to care for you going through the same situation. So remember, our lives and our stories are separated by like 6, or I think it's like 3 degrees separation. But our stories are already written, and everything that you're going through is preparing you for something else. So without further ado, I want to talk to Mama Wallace. Please share your story, and to kind of tell you how Mama Wallace joined us. I met her daughter yesterday. So those of you who are coming to my event December 3rd, you will meet her daughter as well. She's such a phenomenal lady here in the city of Atlanta. She's doing some incredible things for entrepreneurships, for entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship. And I told her about being a survivor, and I was having this show, and she said, "You know what? My mom's a survivor." I said, "Well, I want to hear from her." So, Mama Wallace, please share your story.
Okay. Thank you for having me, Miss Tiara. I have to just say this: God does not make any mistakes at all. My journey was a little different because I've been saved since I was 3 years old, and I've always believed in God. But you go through different things, and my motto is that when He takes you through something, for me, it's always a lesson in it. So I did kind of like your mom, Mr. Curtis. I found a lump on my breast, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna wait and just see how it goes, because I went and got my mammograms every year. And my mom had breast cancer, and she didn't tell us, so we didn't know. And so she went through it all by herself because she didn't want to bother us. As 7 kids, and she didn't want to bother us. So I always made sure that I got my exams and everything. So this particular day, I felt the lump. I knew it was breast cancer. I knew it. I just, God had told me. But what He was telling me in my whole process before I really figured it out, it was like, I'm going to take you through this journey, but the journey ain't what you think it is. And I'm like, what does that mean? If I have breast cancer, I got to go through all this. So anyway, I went to the doctor. Same thing as your mom, Mr. Curtis. They said they had to give me a biopsy. I knew it was cancerous. I knew it. I just knew it. So when I came back in, they had me come into there and speak to the doctor. And the first thing I thought of was, thank you, God, for the miraculous. Now, I know people like, what does that mean? Was I scared? Yes, I was scared, but I knew it was going to be a miraculous experience for me, right? So I went in, and they scared me to death. They start talking about all this stuff. You got to do this, you got to do that. We got to put a port in. We don't have radiation and everything. And I'm saying, wait a minute, before you do anything, I need to know, what level am I? Am I, 1, 2? Well, we're not sure. I'm like, well, how can you not be sure when you did a biopsy on me, And they were like, well, we got to figure it out. So they took me through all these tests and everything, and they came back and they said, well, we think you might be a 2. But what we recommend is, we want you to have radiation, we want you to have chemo, and then we want you to have surgery so that you can remove it. And so while they're talking to me, the doctor comes in, and I'm smiling, and he's looking at me like, are you all right? And I'm like, no, I'm good. And he said, well, why do you say that? I said, because I'm healed. I already know that I'm healed. I know, told me. So he's like, oh, okay, well, fine. So, set everything up for me and got everything together. And then they said, well, we need to schedule you to go get your port and everything to come in so we could start your chemo. In my thought, well, they say. So I went to the desk to schedule all of my appointments and everything. One of my daughters called Shanice first. She was like,
Mama Wallace, do you hear us? I do apologize. I know she was in the middle of her story, but it's just so amazing how so many people have this same feeling, right? You go to the doctor, you think something's going on, and you happen to, go through a series of tests. But you have to have faith over fear. So when I'm just thinking about me and finding my lump, it was similar to that. And you guys who have watched this, you know that I found my lump. But what's so crazy about it is that 3 months prior, I went and had my, not a mammogram at that time, because we know that women, according to your insurance, you don't supposed to get a mammogram unless there's family history until the age of 40. So when I actually went and had my breasts, just checked during, the women's annual, they check everything. There was nothing found. However, I found my lump by myself as well. So I can truly connect with Mama Wallace. So we're going to bring her back up and see if she can finish her story. All right.
You know what? Saint don't want me to finish this, sorry, because I'm going to drop some nuggets to y'all. So anyway, after I did all of that, I said, I dropped off. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. So she said, please come back. Please come back. We need to talk to you. And she said, and then this is the statement that got me more than anything. She said, well, if you don't have surgery, then the doctor is not going to recommend anything for you. And I looked at her and I said, first of all, the doctor's not my God and neither are you. I said, and I should have a right to decide what I do with my own body. I said, first of all, I haven't researched anything. I know what I need to do. So I came home and I started praying. I said, God, you got to help me because this is something I don't know what to do. So no joke, guys. I met a couple that I was helping, mentor some people doing business. And man called me and he said, man, she wants to start a business and I'm sick. He said, I asked you what's wrong. What I tell a stranger. But okay, God said, speak. So I spoke. And I said, yes, I just found out I had breast cancer. And he was like, wow. He said, well, can I ask you a question? I said, sure. He said, I want my godmama to talk to you. He said, and please don't be offended. He said, because I know this is God. So he put his godmama on the phone. She started praying and she said, you healed in Jesus' name. You're a miracle worker. She said, God had to take you through this process so you could bless somebody else. And I'm thinking, okay, but in the back of your mind, flesh gonna come out like, all right, yeah, right, And so after she did that, she said, I want to have my godson to bring you some noni juice, and I'm going to bless that noni juice. And I don't want you to pay for it. I just want you to drink it, every day, like I tell you to. And she said, I know that God is going to heal your body. So I'm like, okay. So about 2 weeks, they let me kind of decide what I want to do. I went back and I said, listen, I did my research and I have decided I'm not doing chemo. I'm not doing radiology. And I'm not having nobody remove my breasts. I said, God spoke to me, and I know that you guys have a pill that people can take. And she was like, well, we do, but we don't recommend that for you because it came on. So I said, listen, this is my body. And I get to choose what I want to do with my body. And this is what I want to choose. So she said, well, we're going to take you to a test. And it was called a HER test. And if I'm negative, then we could put you on the pill. If not, I don't know if we can do anything. I said, oh, it'll be negative. And I just smiled. And so they took me through the test and I did it. It came back negative. And I decided to take the pill. In this process, I'm healing. I'm going through all of these different things. And I'm like, wow, God, I said, I know what you're doing, but I need you to talk to me about this because I want to make sure that I'm hearing from you and I'm making the right decision. So I took the pill for about 4 months. I went back to get my ultrasound and the lady came in and she said, I don't see nothing. She said, I see that you've been on the pill and I see what your lump has shrunk. It just shrunk. And I said, I didn't say anything to her. I said, okay. So after that, she said, well, I need you to come back in and take another ultrasound because I need to make sure what we see, we really seeing, right? So I said, okay, no problem. I'll do that. In that process, I was just thanking God for my healing because I knew that I was going to be healed, and my kids, they were worried, but I kept that, positiveness in me to let them know, listen, God got me. If it's my time to go, it's my time to go, but I got to do what he said to do. So when I went back, they took the ultrasound and they said, this is amazing. We ain't never seen anybody heal that quickly like that. And she said, and she said, so she kept saying, do you want the surgery? I said, no, ma'am, I don't want surgery. God has healed my body and I'm standing on that healing. And so I've been back. I really about a month ago. They don't see anything. They said I'm doing well. Yes, I have to take, but I didn't have to have chemo. I didn't have to have radiology. And the only thing that I could tell anybody, make your own choices. Do your research. A lot of us, we just take what the doctor's saying. Okay, they want to cut your breast off and all that. Don't do that because you've got to know, if you know God going to tell you what to do. Now, there are some people who do have to go through that process, but I knew I didn't because I heard what he said. You have to stay positive. That is the most thing that I think brought me through the whole thing. Being around people that can uplift you. It is a scary process. And I'm not going to sit here and say some nights I worried about it, because I come from a praying family. My mama had it. She laid hands on me and told me that I was healed. But still in my mind, I had to believe that, So if I could tell anybody anything, stay positive, have people around you that are positive, and know that he is God. Listen to God, listen to your body, research, find out things. They're having all kinds of now for people with breast cancer that I never even heard of a pill. A lot of my friends that had breast cancer never heard of any kind of pill. So you have to do your research. But I can tell you now I'm cancer free. It's been over 1.5 years. I still check my body. I still go in and get everything. But I have to tell you, this was a miraculous healing. This wasn't me. God said, I'm going to heal your body, and because I believe. So I'm excited about sharing this because he told me after all of this experience, and then I'm done, he said, I need you to go out and talk to other women about what you've been through so they understand. And so this is my very first one. So Miss Tierra, you don't know, you just jumped into my ministry and moved that purpose, and I've got to let people know it wasn't nothing but God. I can't take the credit for none of this stuff, but I believed and he healed me. So thank you, and thank you for you guys for having me so much. I appreciate it.
Listen, Mama Wallace, thank you. And I'm happy that you popped back in. We needed to hear that. And I also had our previous guest, which is Quan. She was mentioning that she needed to hear this, and you guys have the same last name. So as you were talking, I just thought about how awesome is it to just depend on your faith, right? But still, people have no idea. A lot of times when people are, I know when I was diagnosed, I kind of kept it to myself, of course, because you have to get a Baron, you have to get Barons on it, right? Because everyone's faith isn't like yours. You knew what needed to happen. But I'm sure had you shared that with someone, they may have wanted you to take chemo or do all these other things. Well, you have to make a informed decision for yourself. So thank you for saying that. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you for your testimony. Without further ado, I know you've seen her beautiful picture on our flyer that we've been passing along, and thank you for pressing your way, Kenecia, to be here. I actually call her Boo. So to let you know who Boo is to me, Boo is my bonus sister. Thank you, Shanetta, and thank you, Lo, thank you, Bougie, for sharing her with me. She means more to me than I don't even think she understands. So to kind of give you a little of understanding of why she is so significant to me and this platform and us talking about this. And what 2000, I think it was 2005 or 6 or something. I don't think it was it had to be 6. Kenecia's mom actually was being treated for breast cancer, but I was living in Houston. So Shanetta contacted me and told me, "Hey, my mom's at the airport. I need you to pick my mom up." And I took her to stay in a hotel so she could get her treatment. That was the first time, right? And I'm wondering, I'm like, okay, I'm taking her to the hotel. No, she needs to stay with me. This is my family because all of my family, all my friends are like family to me. So fast forward to that, a few times she stayed with me, she and Kenecia, and I began to just think of, I was pregnant at the time, I forgot to tell you that. I was pregnant at the time. And so I just like everything that Kenecia and her mom did for me. I was pregnant. Kenecia helped put my baby's toys and everything together. Her mom helped as well. Her mom was the manager of Waffle House. And I'm just like, oh my God, I got the Waffle House in my house. Her mom cooked for me. And me not even just knowing that, she's really pushing through to do these things, and of course, I just admired Kenecia's strength because she is the oldest and she was a great caregiver. She was always strategizing, trying to figure out how were they going to make it work because they were traveling to Houston from Alabama just because they wanted the best treatment for their mom. So that's where, so of course we knew each other before then, but with breast cancer. So Kenecia is such a fighter, and I'll let her share the rest of her story. But I love you, Boo. Thank you for being here.
Love you too. There you go. Telling everybody my childhood nickname. Thanks for putting it out there. I actually have lots to contribute to this conversation. As Tierra just mentioned, I was on the caregiver side for my mother. And then I personally have been affected and I'm a breast cancer survivor as well. So I've been on both sides of this. I'll start off with my mom. And the reason I want to bring up hers is because, most people think of breast cancer as a lump. it's not always a lump. So my mother actually had what is called inflammatory breast cancer. Most people have never even heard of it. And it looks like mastitis. So if you're a woman and you have a child and you get an infection of the breast, it just looks like your breast just swells up. And that's what happened with her. But of course, she's way past childbearing age. So we knew it wasn't that, but and it's harder to detect. So inflammatory breast cancer, you can't find it any sooner than stage 3. It's a very aggressive form of cancer, which is the reason why so I am a nurse. So of course, as a nurse, I'm like, okay, let me do some research, because even as a nurse, I had never heard of it. But I went and did some research and found a doctor at MD Anderson, which is the reason why I sought out her treatment at MD Anderson, because I wanted her to get the best care. Because, in my opinion, I want to do everything I can humanly possibly do to help her, and that's within my control. So, that's what we did. We took her there for treatment. And because of that, I think I know it extended her time with us. Unfortunately, she did pass to the breast cancer. It did spread. Again, it was very aggressive, but because of the care, they were awesome at MD Anderson. They, we had a good year with her, another good year and a half with her. And then on my side of the story, let's see, gosh, 2 years ago for me, because of my mother having breast cancer, I also had my grandmother, my mom's mom, also had breast cancer. And then I had a really close first cousin on my mother's side. So actually, my first cousin and my mom had cancer at the same time. My first cousin was a year younger than me. So she was 29, I think, when she was diagnosed. And so we've been like just hammered with this. And so she was going through her journey while we were trying to take care of my mom. So there's a lot going on, but because of what they went through, it helped me make my decisions once I was diagnosed with it. So of course, because of my family history, I started mammograms early. So I started my mammograms at the age of 35. So, I was fortunate to have a doctor who was in the know and aware and fully aware, and was like, okay, we're going to go ahead and start your mammograms early. So because of the mammograms is how I found my cancer. I couldn't feel my lump. So women with really dense breast tissue, it's harder to detect those lumps. And that was the case with me. So I just went for my annual mammogram, which is very important. I always stress the importance of not skipping your regular routine checkups and what's recommended for your treatment, because I'm busy. I travel for work. I'm all over the place. And I was supposed to win in January, but I didn't get around to going until I think it was May of that year for my mammogram. Almost didn't go because I was like, oh, I'm so busy. It's been fine the past couple of years. Maybe I'll just skip it. But fortunately, I did not. I listened to myself, because I know me. I'm like, that 1 year you don't do it is when something will happen. And I'm like, I just can't have that in the back of my mind. So I went, and, and they were like, oh, they found it, did the biopsy, came back, and had the breast cancer. So because of the history with my mom, I did go to get the test, but we do not have the breast cancer gene. So that was negative. But that helped influence my decision as far as my treatment. Because I saw what my mom went through. I saw what my cousin went through, my grandmother. And so we all had 3 different forms of the breast cancer also. So none of it was the same. It was all different for each of us. So for me, it was early. I found it early, so they were like, it's small. So, you could probably do a lumpectomy and radiation, and you'll probably be fine, and, potentially chemo, things like that. So, but then the other option, as I was consulting with the doctors, was, doing a mastectomy. I can do that as well. So, it was a tough decision, because it's a lot. And, to Mama Wallace and, Curtis, you guys know you're there, and it's a lot, like, just being thrown at you all at once. Your whole world, you're like, okay, everything just got flipped upside down. Like this was, yeah. So now you've got to sit and try to digest everything and figure out, okay, how do I move forward? And to your point, Mama, while it's staying positive, that's what keeps me going, you know. And I am a nurse, so I'm in healthcare. And I always say, you know, even though things may seem bad, there's always someone who has it worse. And I see that all the time. And so I know that even though it's bad for me right now, it could be worse. And so I take it and take that in stride. And so I decided to do a double mastectomy because for me, that was for my peace of mind as far as my treatment. You know, I'm like, I just want to do this one time, one and done. Let's get it over with, be done with it. I don't want to have to go through this again, you know, and so that was my decision. And you know, and so with me making that choice, I was, because I found it so early with the mammogram, I did not have to have chemo and I did not have to go through radiation. So I only needed the surgical intervention to get rid of my cancer. Another part of my reconstruction. So once I make that decision, then I have to decide, do I want reconstruction? And what type of reconstruction? There's so much I had to educate myself on. And, you know, I tell women, anyone, you know, who's been diagnosed or know someone who's been diagnosed, I've talked to plenty of strangers. For when I was diagnosed, I had strangers that I spoke to that helped me through this process, that had been through it. I, of course, reached right out to Tiara because she had already been through it. And then I talked to people that I didn't know, that helped me to make my decisions. And to this day, I do the same in return. Anytime someone has it and they need someone to talk to, I'm like, call me. I will gladly talk to them and, you know, give them words of advice, encouragement, you know, anything. Because as far as like seeing your doctors, I encourage everyone, get a second opinion. Yes. So yeah. And I'll get to that, Laquana. So, but always get a second opinion. Don't go by the first thing you hear. You know, these doctors, physicians, they don't know everything. And people want to look at them as if they do know everything, but they don't. And I always encourage people, you know, because that is our right, is to at least get a second opinion. So I did my research, got a couple of opinions. I decided, like I said, I had the double mastectomy, but I also decided, as far as my reconstruction, I did some more research and realized I didn't have to just do breast implants. So I always try to share this part of my story because a lot of women aren't even aware that you can use your own tissue to do your reconstruction. And it's all covered. People were worried, is it covered by insurance? Yes, the whole reconstruction process is covered by your insurance. So I actually went and I did my research, found a breast care center in New Orleans. And this was a group of doctors, and this is all they did. They specialized only in doing breast reconstruction surgeries for women of all different types of backgrounds of and stages of their process. So I went there and actually had the tissue removed. You can have it. Most people have extra, as we get older, we have a little extra love around the belly area. So a lot of women will use that to reconstruct their breasts. And, you know, I didn't have a ton. So I actually used my gluteal tissue. So they use that tissue. And a lot of people don't know that those are options, but they are. And I chose that because I didn't want to have any foreign thing in my body if I could help it. So implants are foreign, and a lot of people have breast implant illness, you know. So if I didn't have to go that route, I was like, I don't really want to put breast implants in me, but I still wanted to have some type of reconstruction. And I'm like, I'm young. So I was diagnosed, so 2 years ago. So I just had turned 40. So I was like 40, right at 40 when I was diagnosed. So I'm young. I'm like, I still kind of want something there, you know? So for me, that's the route that I went. But I like to let women know, like, that is an option for you. Like, you don't have to, a lot of people, or the doctors, are trying to tell you the path to take. And they'll say, you need to do this. Like you said, Mama Wallace, you need to do this, this, and this. And it's like, hold up, you know, and they'll tell them, oh, you need to go plastic surgeon, breast implants, we're going to do this. And it's like, wait a minute. No, there's actually a whole lot of other options for you to explore. So that's why I tell people, get a second opinion. Don't always go by the first thing you hear. So for me, I did that, had my oncotype score, which was really low. And yes, I do. My cancer was not HER2 negative, but ER positive, meaning that it was hormonally fed and driven. So for me, I do take tamoxifen and to help decrease those hormone levels, to help decrease my chances of recurrence. Now, that's just me doing with everything that I wanted to do. I didn't have to, but it's encouraged. And from research, it shows that it helps decrease your rate of reoccurrence. But it's not something that you have to do. But so it varies, depending on like the type of cancer you have. So for me, that was an option. And I've said, okay, this pill, I'm going to go ahead and take it. I'm able to tolerate the there are some side effects, but not too terrible. But for me, fortunately, I really don't experience much of the side effects. So I'm very grateful for that. I had the option. If I wanted to do chemo, I could have, but I felt like my risk was low. I didn't feel like that was necessary. So yeah. So for me, that's in a quick little nutshell, my story. So if you guys any questions or anything else, let me know. But I can go on and on and on. So
Well, Kenecia, listen, you could go on and on and on. However, our show is coming to an end, and but for good reason, because not only are you passionate about this, but we all are, because you know someone, right? I know you guys can't see me, but you know someone who either has gone through this or who's going through this. And according to the statistics, look, you will know someone that is going through this if you haven't met them yet. Also, our men, listen, I know you may have it in your family or maybe not, but it's important for you to do a self-examination as well. Throughout this whole time, all of the guests who've been on here, we've been asking you guys and talking to you and sharing our stories for one thing, to bring awareness and to have you guys send this to someone else, or just tap into your network. Make sure people understand the importance of this, not only in the Black community, but all across America. There is someone tomorrow that's going to get the news that they have breast cancer. Then what comes with the breast cancer patient? Of course, a caregiver. And we know that you guys need support. So if you need support, you have 3 survivors, myself, Mama Wallace, and Kenecia, and you also have a caregiver who is Curtis. So please, please, please reach out to us, DM us. We're here to support. I do also want to give a shout out to the wonderful team, Tiara and Elise, and Kenecia was a part of that team, as well as Curtis. We raised over $1,700. Yes, for the American Cancer Society. For the American Cancer Society. And that warms my heart, because going back to Kenecia, I watched her benefit from the American Cancer Society. They have these homes called Hope. Is it Hope House or Hope Home? I think it's Hope House or Hope.
It's the Hope Lodge.
Hope Lodge. Yes, yes. So tell us a little bit about the Hope Lodge, and then we're gonna let everyone speak. Hey, and then we're gonna go ahead and move on. But go ahead, tell us about the Hope Lodge.
Yeah.
And our money is going back to this guy. So if you donated, thank you. But no, it does incredible things like this for people who are going through the journey right now. So tell about Hope Lodge.
Yeah, the Hope Lodge was a great help to me, because as I mentioned, I chose to go to New Orleans to have my surgery. And so for the surgery, I needed to be there at least 10 days, because I did the mastectomy and the reconstruction surgery all in one. So I had to stay in the hospital for a few days and then be in the area. So of course you need lodging, and that can get expensive if you don't have anyone, or you need to pay for hotel costs. But fortunately in New Orleans, they have the Hope Lodge, and anyone, as long as they have availability, if you're a cancer patient, and even women who have the BRCA gene, the breast cancer gene. You may not have been diagnosed with cancer, but you are being proactive and doing proactive double mastectomy. You're even able to qualify to stay in the Hope Lodge. So a lot of people aren't aware that they think you actually have to actively have cancer to stay there, but that's not true. And so the resources at the breast center in New Orleans, connected me with the Hope Lodge, and I was able to stay at the Hope Lodge, me and my caregiver, for no cost at all, nothing. And it's very nice. And they provide transportation if you needed that as well to get to your for your appointments. But you're staying at the Hope Lodge. There's a full kitchen for you available. And the only requirement is you just can't eat in your room. That's the only requirement. They have a kitchen where you can sit. It's like 4 stations, like 4 sinks, 4 stoves, 4 ovens, 4 microwaves. So you basically can have that one little corner when you need to go down and cook your meals, and the whole refrigerator to keep everything. And so it's like set up like a hotel room. So it's a nice place to, be you're around people like you as well. So you have more support. They're there to support you. But it was very nice to be able to stay there and not have to financially worry about where am I staying? How much is this going to cost? This is expensive. So it took that worry away. And again, this is like Tierra said, she was like, she wasn't quite a believer. And then until I shared with her, I was able to use them as a resource. And I'm like, that saved me probably a couple thousands of dollars. I had to go twice. So I had 2 surgeries. So I went down there and I stayed down there twice. So yeah, and resources, definitely, that's the thing. People, reach out, we're here to help with that, because I try to exhaust all my resources, whether it's family, friends, and then I'm online looking up any and everything. Like you said earlier, Tierra, when we were in Houston with my mom, we were there. We needed to stay there. She had her surgery there and her radiation there. So we needed to be there for 3 months. And I was in there with the social worker and getting a list of all the resources. And we fortunately were able to, they have a lot of churches there that support the medical community, and they had like apartments. So we were able to get on a list, and we were able to get into a fully furnished apartment, and we were paying like $35 a day. So they do things like that versus us being in a hotel paying, $130 or $100 a day. And we were in a fully furnished apartment and was able to stay for 3 months while she was there getting her treatment. So there are tons of resources out there. You just have to look for them, ask, and people will help you and provide them for you.
Thank you so much. If you guys want to say anything, we're going to close the show out. Curtis, do you or Mama Wallace have anything that you'd like to say?
First of all, I want to just thank you, Tierra, for making this available, because women need to know, especially African American women need to know that they have somebody that they can lean on. And, Kenecia, just your knowledge, I think it's awesome. 2 things I just wanted to say before we end is that diet for all of us is so important. I cut out meat and I cut out different things because we got to take care of ourselves, and the diet. And then lastly, I'm going to be doing hopefully a TV show, because after I got breast cancer, then I had a heart attack 2 weeks ago. And these are so many different things that we have to go through that us as African American women, we just don't know. I didn't know anything about a heart attack. And so the show is going to be called The Healing Spot. And it's going to be able to, and Miss Tierra, I want to connect with you and what you're doing, because I have people now that are going through this situation, and they need to know they've got people like all of you that is there to support. And Curtis, for caregiving, man, that's credible to see a man caregiver, you guys bring that strength. So I'm just so happy to be a part. I will definitely be connecting people to you all. I talk to people all the time, and you know, you coming from the medical field, Kenecia, and you, Tiara, just starting this platform, man, people need to hear about it. So you will be on my show, Miss Tiara. You and Kenecia both. But thank you so much for having me. And I've learned a lot too. I mean, just by listening to you all. So thank you.
Again, I want to say thank you, Tiara, and I want to thank you, Mama Wallace and Kenecia, for your story as well. Again, like you said, both of you guys hit on something that's so important, is that you know what I mean, that's positive feedback, having people around you positive. If you got some negative Nancy's around you, run from them. You know, my grandma used to always tell me, sometimes you have to ask God to shake your tree, and everything that falls off, make sure it rolls away from you, because you don't need that stuff around you. Get those people around you, those naysayers, or what you heard about somebody else, because what my God does for me, you know, it's just for me, and he knew it was for me. So those people, I tell you, just stay encouraged, surround yourself around positive people, even as the caregivers. Make sure you stay positive, you know what I mean? Stay off the internet, because sometimes that internet, when you're doing research, make sure you get it from reputable websites and do your own research, because sometimes I know if I went on there and looked up not behind leg, the first time WebMD would have told me cancerous. Go and get it, you know what I mean? So then I'm around here panicking. So I don't hear nothing nobody else saying, because the internet don't lie, because it's on the internet. So make sure you surround yourself around people. I tell you, one of my biggest fears, and I tell people, is dying alone, not having no positive people around me, not having, and that's why with Tiara, you know, she is amazing about always saying, hey, bro, she'll call me. She knows she don't hear from me 2 days. I need to call Tub and see what's going on. Something going on with him. And, you know, same thing with her. When I don't hear from her a couple of days, I say, what you doing? And we just talk, pick up. You know, we've been knowing each other since, 97, 98, Tiara? McDonald days? So, you know, I tell you, you know, that's my sister. I tell you, you know, in the words of my granddad, I kill an oak tree over. And, you know, so I tell you guys, man, thank y'all for y'all story, because somebody is definitely out here listening. They might not be on now, but this is going to be on the website. Somebody going to come back and watch this video, and they're going to get a nugget from one of you guys or something that we said, and that's going to make their whole world a lot better. So again, thank you. Tiara, I know you said this is the last one. You might need to do another, sweetheart, because I tell you, we got to keep these things going and keep the calls, and definitely we need to do one about men going to the doctor. Like you said something about breast cancer, but men can get this stuff too. Men have heart attacks too. Men get, you know what I mean, all these things. So we definitely need to figure out a platform to get our men and these women and the ladies together to talk about and encourage. You know, that's part of one of the 7 habits, you know. So let's do it. And Rex, I'm always here. Thank you guys so much again.
You know what? You know, I just enjoyed listening to everyone tonight. I do know our time is almost up, but one thing that when you said, you know, people, sometimes you have to get around, like, listen, guys, this is the last one for this year. Now, remember, this is on Wednesday, we wear pink. So I want to make sure everyone focus on breast cancer, but of course not. You know, we have the educational town hall meeting, and we can always do one about grateful or thankfulness in November. So, and remember, November is, what is it? I believe it's I have to look it up, but it's when the November, the guys don't shave. Yeah. So we're gonna figure that out. That's a great idea. But before we leave this topic for some time, I want you guys to know that never feel bad about making conscious decisions to remove people from around you when you are really trying to dive into your faith, and be anchored to it. Because listening, I will never forget the moment that I found out that I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I felt as if I was at my own funeral. I want you to think about that. I felt that way because all I knew of were people who did not make it. And the first thing that I thought is, who could I contact that has made it? And I began to dive into those resources and connect with those people. But one thing that was very obvious when I told people that I had it, I went on their reaction. If their reaction was, you're going to be okay, or, I'm praying for you, I may have, connected with them again. But if they had more questions of how am I going to survive, I promise you, even one of my closest friends, and I have no harm in my heart against her, I had to disconnect from her because her fear was bigger than her faith. And at that point, I needed only people who had faith as big as mine. So, guys, never feel bad about decisions like that, but don't suffer in fear, in silence. Do not suffer in silence. So if you know right now you have something that's not going on well with you, you don't have to tell anybody, but you know who always knows, and that's God. And remember, you have to go. That's what you pay your health care insurance for. Go to the doctor, okay? I love you guys. I'm not great by mistake, and neither are you. Thank you to all my friends, all of you guys who tuned in and who will watch the replay. I pray and I hope that on Wednesday we wear pink really helps someone. All right, have a good night. I'm not great by mistake, neither are you.